So we've worked in the TV and corporate space for over 20 years and have coached presenters all over the world. And in this video, we're going to give you 10 tips on how to improve your presenting and public speaking. Now, the shocking stat is that 77% of us hate public speaking or presenting. And we at the Presenter Studio are on a mission to help people realize that actually presentations are a great opportunity both personally and professionally. So we really want to challenge you and start to get you thinking about your presentations a little bit differently. But first of all, a little bit about us and who we are, just so we can get all on the same page. I'm Gareth Davis and I am one half of the Presenter Studio, and we are an award-winning presenter coaching business. In our careers, we have worked with a long list of well-known presenters, names like Graham Norton, Sarah Cox, Zoe Ball, Claudia Winkleman, Tess Daly on shows like Strictly Come Dancing, The X Factor, BBC News, Gogglebox, Eurovision, Glastonbury, and we've coached businesses, big and small, on presentation skills. Porsche, Condé Nast, Red Bull, ASOS, Prudential, Ministry of Defence, Sage, a long list of corporate clients. So basically, we like to think we know our stuff. Okay, so let's get to it. Here are our top 10 tips on how to improve your presenting and public speaking. Now, the first thing is to think of yourself as a personality, not as a presenter. Remember, people buy people, so you want to come across as relatable. You want people to connect with you. But instead, we tend to forget all of that. We tend to forget who we are, and we just simply go into corporate presenting mode, where we get very obsessed with coming across as professional. But what we would say is, take that as a given. This is your presentation. It's all about your personality. And here's an extension of that thought. Think of yourself as a personal brand, which is basically a produced version of you. This is how you want to come across in your presentations. And I would say the best personal brands are three-dimensional. There's a range to it, there's a depth to it, and so many presenters are simply 2D. It's too flat, it's too one note, and therefore far too generic. And the way to kind of find out what your personal brand might be, or the way to work through it, is to write down 3 key personal or professional attributes that you want to pull on or that you want to produce up. And it can be a really tough thing to do for yourself, as often we don't really know as people how we come across. But it's so important, and it's something that we do for all of our clients. And I would advise you to make sure that you do it before you go into any sort of presentation. So the next thing to think about is you want to make sure that your personal brand works with the brand of your business. Obviously, there's some context to this here. You're going to be working or representing a company. It might be your own company or a company that you're working for. And the best presenters are often the personification of the brand of their business. So get together with colleagues. If you're all doing presentations, decide in the office, what is the brand of our business? What's the tone and feel of our business? How do we all want to come across as a company, and why? And then make sure your personal brand works with what you've decided the brand of your business is. The next thing to think about is your audience, or it might be your customer. And always write for your audience and really think, how best do you want to communicate with them? How do you want to come across? How do you want to make them feel? The tone of your script should always match your audience. But again, make sure if you're presenting at work, don't just go into business presenter mode. One trick actually with that is to think about how can I engage my audience rather than educate them. If you think about being engaging, it will then mean that you're going to look at ways in which you can bring your content to life rather than simply look to educate your audience, which can often mean basically it's all one note and simply a little bit dull. And the other trick to think about is actually having a conversation with your audience rather than presenting to them. No one likes being presented at. We all like to feel that we're actually part of a dialogue and that you're actually speaking to me. Now, the next thing to think about, and it's really important actually, and a really good mindset to get into, is purpose. And all too often in presentations, we just launch into writing mode. But ask yourself, before you start a presentation, before you even think about it, what do you want to get out of this personally and professionally? What's your purpose? If your presentation doesn't have a clear purpose, it's then going to lack focus and it'll also lack the impact that you want it to have. And we also think that every speech or every presentation should boil down to one message, and that's your tagline basically. And I would always write this out first and make sure you stick to it. And a tagline should be one sentence, no more, don't cheat. Now, the next thing to think about is structure. And before you write your script, plan your presentation first. And the best way to do this is to create a running order, which is basically a high-level overview of your presentation. And this is where you section out your presentation into timed parts. Give each part a duration, a title, and under that title, bullet your key bits of takeouts, your key bits of information, your facts and your figures. And this then basically will be the structure of your presentation. And once you've done all of this, you've now created a really simple running order. Take a step back, look at the running order, see how your presentation flows, and then you can go back over your presentation, look at the duration. Are some parts too long? What might you look to cut out? And then once you're happy with your running order, and only then, write your script. But make sure you always stick to the content and duration of all the parts in your running order. The next thing to think about is writing a good opener. First impressions are hugely important, and we make up our minds about people, it's said, in about 27 seconds. And you know what I would actually say is in the first 10 seconds. It's pretty immediate. So get yourself off to a good start, create a good intro, and one trick is to put in a killer stat. Audiences love to learn, so hook them in right at the top with a killer stat or a shock stat right at the top, as facts will basically also make your audiences believe you. And make sure that you keep the introduction short. You want it to be punchy, you want it to be dynamic. Get to the point and cut out any waffle. And also don't pack in too much at the top of your presentation. It's what we sometimes call the onion technique. Some presentations are all about unraveling the layers as you go through. And another thing we also think about is the use of tone in your intro, as too many presentations focus on the functionality of the intro. But actually, think of this being you meeting someone for the first time. It's like a handshake in a bar. It needs to feel warm, it needs to feel inviting, it needs to feel engaging rather than simply functional. So in your script, in your intro, if you are saying hello and welcome at the top, make sure you generally do mean it. Generally say hello and make your audience feel welcome. And another little tip on your intro is always make sure that you learn it. You want to get eye contact with your audience right at the beginning. You want to get off to a confident start. So your audience, therefore, will then sit up and they'll listen to you. So practice, practice, and practice some more your opener. How you start really sets the scene and the tone for what's to come. And the next tip is language. And I would really advise you to avoid using corporate jargon. This is your presentation, remember. These should be your words. So find the humor, find the light and shade, add in personal stories that have got emotions and feelings, as they're actually going to help your audience connect with you, and get some facts and figures in there, as they will help your audience believe you. Language is so important. Next tip is to speak to a real person, not an audience, or actually not a camera if you're doing online presenting. This is really important for anyone that presents, as it can really impact everything that you do. So I would have a little think about someone that you know and someone that you like and someone who brings out the best in you. It'll affect so much. It'll affect your choice of language, the pace, the tone, your energy. Now the next thing is passion. If you are not connected with your script, your audience won't be either. So you've got to make sure that you connect with what you're saying. You've got to make sure that you bring the information in your script to life. And I would think about trying to emotionally engage with your script. Speak from the heart, not the head. And this will also help you, for those of you who struggle to remember scripts, remember your script. Connecting with it from here really does help. And the last thing is to simply have fun. Presentations are actually a great opportunity, both personally and professionally. And presentations and events and speaking on stages or delivering presentations at work are actually really exciting, dynamic, visual, energetic things. So your presentations should also be all of those things. And actually, I'm going to leave with you with a final statement, which is, you are born unique, so don't die a copy. Remember, this is your presentation, to make it your own. I hope you found this useful. I've been Gareth Davis from the Presenter Studio. To find out more information about what we do and how we can help you, get in touch with us. You can check out our website, you can drop us an email, you can give us a call, and connect with us on social media.